Konbanwa. Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation. I want to thank the chairman, Yasushi Akashi, for this invitation, the executive director, Takashiro Furuhata, as well, who was here the first day, and Professor Masato Izuka for this introduction and this presentation. I really want also to start by thanking Mayuko and Yuko, who have been with organizing the whole trip and very helpful since the very beginning of this visit. And I really want to thank the International House of Japan for this invitation and the organization of this trip in such a great way. I want to start also by thanking the translators, because sometimes I forget at the end, so I really want to thank them. So far I was impressed by the way things have been done with all the translators I had since I came, so I'm sure it's going to go well, and hopefully you will get the core of what I have to say this evening. Living together, working together, it's a huge topic. And as I was introduced by the chairman, I know that you have lots of questions about Islam and about the situation around the world. What I want to do is to come with this topic to the big picture that is necessary to have when it comes to our societies. I'm not going to talk about Islam, I'm going to talk about many issues that are universal, that are international. And from time to time, of course, I'm going to come with some references to Islam. But as to the questions that you may have about Islam today, this will come in the question and answer session. I think that if you have more specific questions, come to this. My point here is not to come to give a lecture about Islam, it's to come to meet with fellow human beings from Japan, living in Japan, Japanese as to their citizenship or residence in Japan, and to come to something which is an international, universal commitment that we need to have when it comes to living together. Because it's easy to say, difficult to experience. So this is what I want us to come. At the end, I'm not here to entertain you for 45 minutes. I'm here to share common responsibilities as the world is going not so well these days. So it's really to come to our personal responsibility. So I'm very happy to have a full house, but it means also to get a personal sense of responsibility when it comes to our understanding of the discussion. As an introduction, and have three main points. Three things that I want to say as a prerequisite to the discussion or to the topic living together and working together. I'm not happy when we say, you know what, at the end we have to live together, as if we can live together in peaceful coexistence. That's not the way I look at it. Peaceful coexistence could be, I live with you but I ignore you. Working together, we cannot work together if we ignore each other, or we have a peaceful coexistence, meaning everyone is in his community or her community with his or her people. No, that's not what I see as the future of our society. Now, when it comes to this, let us come with the very big picture. And you will see that it's a very big picture, but we are dealing with it every day of our life when we are watching TV and assessing what is happening in the world. So there is something which is a very simple thing to say, but it has and it should have consequences in our daily life. And the consequences that it has to have in our life, it's when we are saying, look, I'm coming from Europe. I was born and raised in Switzerland. I'm coming from Egypt as to my origin. My culture is Arab culture. At the beginning, I'm coming from this, but now I have a European culture, I have an Egyptian memory, and I have
diversity of identities, but there is one thing on which we have to agree, that there is one humanity, and we all have the same dignity and the same value. The starting point means one humanity and a diversity of colors, a diversity of languages, a diversity of cultures. This diversity is not and should never put into question the very essence of our equal dignity as human beings. And why am I saying this? Because sitting down here, we all agree on that. But look at the way in reality things are going on. Very often, when we are citizens in a society, we end up thinking that our citizenship takes precedence over our humanity, and this should never happen. It's not because I am Japanese that I have to look at the people who are migrants or foreigners and think that the only fact that I am a Japanese citizen takes over the fact that we have a common humanity. We have the same humanity and the same dignity. It's the same when it comes to Europeans. We speak about, I keep on repeating to my fellow citizens in Europe, I'm a European citizen, as if we are on equal footing. But we have to be careful with the trap. At the end, claiming that I'm a citizen and forgetting that there are human beings coming from around the world and being dying in the Mediterranean Sea because they are migrants coming from poor country, and we say, oh, you know what, I'm a citizen. What about them? Are they not human beings that we have to deal with them with the same dignity and the same humanity? So belonging to a society is good. Belonging to a society at the price of our common humanity is wrong. That cannot be the future. So we have to come to principles, say, look at the world today. Look, you know how violent extremisms, now it's everywhere. And we speak about violence in Syria, in Iraq, and now in Paris, you heard about it. We heard about what is happening or what happened in London, in New York. Last Sunday, it was 15 years after September 11. That's not acceptable. Terrorism has to be condemned. That's fine. But there is one reaction which is wrong, is only to speak about our victims as if our victims are more valuable than the victims of others. That's a problem today. That we need to come to the starting point is when you look at the Western media, the way they are talking about, I am Paris. That's fine, you are Paris. What about I'm Iraq, I'm Damascus, I'm Baghdad, I'm Beirut, I'm in fact Bangladesh or even Tokyo. When the people are killed somewhere, we need to have this sense of the universal belonging to our common humanity. Because if not, at the end, the powerful media are making us feel that some have more value than others. So every day, 150 people killed in Damascus, it's normalized. 10 in Paris, it's not normal. No, it's not normal in any case. So if we want to live together and work together, let us start with the common principle that even your citizenship as Japanese doesn't mean that you have to forget our common belonging to one humanity. This is one. And by saying this, if I look at, I have been here now for a few days. I have met with the Buddhist tradition, with the Shinto tradition. I know about Christianity, about Judaism, I know about Islam. We all agree on this. One humanity. One humanity. So we have very nice principles, but in the way we translate this into reality, we are narrow-minded in our way to evaluate the world. And this is where, in the name of our religions and our respective messages, we have to come to the very center of these principles and to be able to say, common humanity, one humanity. This is one. There are now facts that we have to face. Willing it or not, In Japan or in the region here, you deal with Korea, we deal with China, you deal with all the countries around, Indonesia, a bit further, Bangladesh or European countries, willing it or not, our societies are pluralistic and they will be more pluralistic in the future. No choice. You might dream of a past where there were only Japanese in Japan, meaning the original understanding of who were the Japanese, the true Japanese people. We have this everywhere. Go in African countries, go in European countries, go now and listen to Trump in the United States of America. It's as if there are true Americans and not so true Americans. True Europeans and not so true Europeans. True Africans and not so true Africans in every country. Why? Because we have a narrow understanding of our identity and we want to protect ourselves from the future by relying on dreams of the past. That's over. Japan is like you see it now. Colors are different, faces are different. Even we have to deal with many languages. That's the fact of the day, and this will be the reality of the future. We have to deal with pluralism. And when you speak about pluralism, it's two things. In fact, it's a need and it's a necessity. It's a need, why? Because at the end, what we need to get in our society is it's a need to be surrounded by people having other identities, other cultures. It's a need, why? Because it helps us understand the world. Now the world, we speak about the global village. I don't like this image of the global village, but what we need to understand is that by dealing with people coming from different cultures, with different religions, it's a need because it helps us to get a better understanding of ourselves. So you can't now deal with technology, being connected with the world, and not deal in your daily life with this diversity and to try to understand. So it's a need to help us to be more human. And it's a necessity. You know this. I'm repeating to the European countries, from within the European countries, there will be no economic survival in Europe without migrants. We need migrants. Why? Because the societies are becoming older and older. So who's going to take care of the society if the Europeans don't have enough children? And you know what? Good news. It's the same in Japan. You're not going to survive, economically speaking, if you don't have people coming. So now to say, let us protect our culture by rejecting the people, it's the end, in economic terms, of the future of Japan. So we have to think in a wise way. How do we deal with pluralism and understanding? It's a need, it's a necessity. Let us deal with it in a wise way. We need wisdom when it comes to this and being realistic. But this is a fact. And as you might not deal, for example, with African countries as we have in Europe, you are dealing with the surrounding countries coming from Korea, coming from China, coming from now Indonesia, and Muslim majority countries where the migrants are going to come. How are you going to deal with this? Welcoming them in a rational way as to understanding it's at the same time humanity coming to us and the necessity of our own survival. This has to come with a political vision. And sometimes this political vision should go against the people's feeling. You have to face it. Why? Because the people are scared, so they think we have to protect. We don't like so much people coming to trouble our comfort zone. So the people are not always welcoming towards foreigners. Politicians should deal with the popular sentiment and at the same time think about the future that they have to build. The problem is that we have two contradictory timings here. The timing that has to do with politics, that we are thinking about the next election, so we have to deal with the people's feelings, and we have to think about the next generation, and we have to deal with the rational way we have to deal with our challenges, and it's contradicting. Sometimes to win the next election, you have to please the people. But to please the people is to work against the next generation. So where are we in this? So this is where we, as citizens, we have to be aware and to work sometimes against the popular feeling that foreigners are putting our society in danger. So, third point, which is important as a starting point, and you see that my introduction is at the same time putting the framework and setting some challenges. If we are dealing with one humanity, if we understand that we have equal dignity and equal rights, that we have to respect the people, if we understand that our societies are pluralistic in essence and they are becoming more and more pluralistic, we need to get it right. It's not enough to sit down in this room and to say, you know what, I am a universalist, I'm open to everybody. It's very easy to say, but it takes effort and there are requirements. Pluralism, it's not an easy way to go. To remain with your people, it's easier than to be open towards the world. And as we are talking about this, my call to every one of us here this evening, it's not to just to come with, as I told you, nice words about pluralism. Is okay, nice words require commitment from every single citizen in her or his society. Meaning what? That when we speak about diversity, if we acknowledge the fact that our diversity is important, we should get it right from the very beginning. Diversity means education. We need education as something which is part of the process through which we are going to deal with diversity. When it comes to education and diversity, there is something which is not easy to get. If we start with the big picture and we come to the reality of the world, we need mutual respect. And mutual respect doesn't come so easily. Mutual respect, it's not only knowledge that you get about the other, is a state of mind, is a mindset, is a way you look at the other, is the way you look at yourself. You can be educated and arrogant. Mutual respect is educated and humble. Humble means I have my truth, but I don't get it all. I believe in truth, but truth doesn't belong to me. I belong to truth, but truth doesn't belong to me. This humility, it's coming from education, but it's something that we have to experience in our daily life. But if you remain with your own people, you're not experiencing respect. And you can end up talking in a very arrogant way about the people you are saying that you respect, but you ignore them. Ignoring the other is one aspect of arrogance. If you ignore somebody, you just mean you have no value. In fact, if I ignore you, it means you're not giving me anything. You're not useful for my life. You're useless. So how are you going to be mutually respectful if you send the message you are useless to a human being? That cannot work. So mutual respect, it's important. And then, when it comes to diversity and this commitment towards pluralism, we need to live together, and this is part of the title, and I will come to this later. And then, this last thing that is necessary is working together. And working together is something which is a way we look at our common future. So not only our common origin as human beings, but our common future as fellow citizens in our society. So having said that, let me come to the points that I just raised now and try to say, if we want to live together and to work together, what are the requirements? How are we going to do this? How are we going to translate this into reality in a very practical way? Not as citizens who are dreaming of a better future, but human beings who are building day in, day out this future together. And this is where we have to be. It's very easy to sit down and to say, the media are responsible and the governments are responsible. I'm not. I'm just a citizen. At the end, who are electing the politicians? You. And who are following the media? You. So at the end, we cannot just always be passive and blame the others and not take responsibility when it comes to us in our daily life. And I very often start by saying, let me ask you a very simple question. You are representing the Japanese society. During the last 2 weeks, how many people from a different culture, from a different origin, from a different belief have you met, talked with, and worked with? Because if you tell me I'm open-minded, that's fine, but your people are always the same. So to be open-minded in a closed world remains a closed world of open-minded people that we don't see. We can blame all the others about what is not happening. Now, my point is acknowledging diversity, as I said. What does it mean, the starting point, when it comes even before education, the starting point of acknowledging this diversity? There is one thing that we don't get right. Very often we are talking, and Japan is a secular society, differentiating between the state and differentiating between religion. We have to get this right. Differentiating between state and religion doesn't mean that we ignore religions. No, it means exactly the opposite. It's not a secular society of uniformity. No, it's a neutral space celebrating diversity, meaning what? It's a diversity that we have, but there is one condition. We are all equal before law, and the state cannot impose any religion on anybody. So it's not let us be all the same with no visible differences in order to be equal. No, that's not the point. It's the opposite. It's celebrating diversity in a neutral space, relying on common rights and duties. That's the opposite. It's celebrating. The secular project was not about uniformity. It's about a unity in the legal field, acknowledging the diversity of the people within the same legal field. This is the secular project. And very often our understanding is, as soon as we see a visible difference, we think that the secular system is in danger. No, that's not the point. The secular system is in danger if we accept that there are laws for some and laws for others. Enforcement of some legal framework for some privileged people and for others, as if there is law for the majority and other laws for the minority. So let us be clear on this, because in the West, for example, and it's happening in your society now, as our societies are becoming more pluralistic, there are visible differences. And we reduce the secular by saying, oh, no, your difference is a danger for me. No. And this is also what I'm saying in the European countries and even in the States now. It's the secular system is not about no visible difference as to the way we dress. Is accepting the differences as long as we agree on a common legal framework by which we are living together. So it's a deep understanding of the secular, which is not the way some populists now are using secular to act against diversity or to reject people by saying, you are too visible and you are not like me. The secular project was not to ask you to be like me. It's to abide by the same rules. But you are who you are, and you believe in what you believe. So the secular is protecting our freedom, our respecting freedom, the way we think, the way we dress, and the way we move. If this is in danger, it's the whole secular project which is in danger, and it's used by populists who are saying, we're going to be good Japanese if we remain the same, and this uniformity in the way we think, in the way we dress, in the way we eat, in the way we speak, in all ways. That's not the future of Japan. It's the end of the Japanese society, if we think like that. So this, it's important in our society, and more than that, this diversity has to be celebrated in a way which is helping us through the other, through the presence of the other, to get a better knowledge of ourselves. So the other is not a danger that is a threat to my own identity. He or she is helping me to think about my own identity. So the dynamic has to be based on mutual knowledge and the understanding that we have to go through this process, because once again it's a process through which we get a deeper knowledge of ourselves through the interaction of the other. Think about it. For example, very often as a Muslim, as a European Muslim, as a Western Muslim, it's the West living with people of other faith who, in fact, through their questions, help me to be better myself, to better understand who I am. And sometimes it's my very presence as a Muslim in Western and European countries that help the Europeans to know better who they are as Christians, who they are as Jews, who they are as atheists, for example. So this is also a positive interaction. So we have a choice here. Clashes of differences rejecting the other, or encounter of differences helping each other to be better as to the knowledge of the self and better as to the knowledge of our respective values. That's very important. And as I told you, it's a mindset. And it comes from what? From what I said at the beginning. One humanity, a diversity, respecting the diversity within our humanity. You know, I wrote a book called The Quest for Meaning. This book is one of my preferred books, and it's the least read of my books. Because the Muslims, when they went and they read this book, they say, it's strange, it's not really Islamic. So for the Muslims, an intellectual Muslim should speak about Islam. And for the audience, people of other faiths or without faith, Christians and Jews and atheists, they read the book and say, oh, it's not enough Islamic. So on both sides, I have people expecting me to speak as a Muslim about Islam, which is problematic. But my point here was, in this book, to look at this big picture and to say, you know, when it comes now, and this is the first field on which we have to work, when it comes to education, the state school education that we are providing our children with, and what we are giving to the people, I think that we have really to reassess what we think is essential. Very often today in our school state system, we are trying to give them the knowledge that is helping them to be efficient. When it comes to the know-how, when it comes to technology, when it comes to languages, so you need to get English, by the way. It's an international language. Japanese is good, English might be better, or as good as Japanese. And then you need to get a sense of technology, know-how, be pragmatic. That's all fine. But at the end, if our schools are giving us the tools to be efficient in practical terms, how are we going to deal with humanity? So what is the measurement of success in your life? The money you get or the humanity you develop? What is the measurement? That's a deep question. So this is why in this book I say you have to reconcile our children in schools with 4 disciplines. The first is history. Because our technology now is very fast. We get the information. You know, we are trapped in words. You know, all of you in Japan, your technology is a very, very high technology. You are all connected. Does it mean that you are communicating? Connections, it's not the same as human communication. Human communication is not to be behind your screen and sending messages. Is face to face, is feelings, is taste, is emotions. This is the true communication that we are talking about. But when it comes to technology, time is running very fast, flying, and we know that time is flying more and more. And because time is flying, we have a very short memory when it comes to our technology now. We are forgetting very, very quickly. We need to reconcile our children with history, a sense of history, memory, what happened. You know, the Second World War is around the corner. to forget about what happened, to forget about the dynamics. It's dangerous. If you have no memory, you are a dangerous citizen. You don't get the sense of what happened, and then you are going to repeat exactly the same mistake. So now we are talking about things, and we don't teach history the right way. It's a neglected discipline. Now, we are living in a pluralistic society. So if you are living in a pluralistic society, we need to have courses and teaching about the diversity of religions and spiritualities. Something. I'm not talking about catechism. I'm talking about the knowledge of religions. Religious illiteracy in our society, it's a danger. Why? Because if you know nothing about religion, don't tell me you are free. You know why? Because the equation is clear. Ignorance is the opposite of freedom. Ignorance is a jail in itself. So if you ignore religions, how are you going to live with people who are saying, I'm praying, I'm believing, I don't believe? We need to get a sense here. So we need to have teaching about religions. Especially if you are having people around you. Your neighbor is going to be a Muslim, is going to be a Christian, is going to be a Jew, is going to be a Buddhist, is going to be a Shintoist, a Confucianist. How are you going to deal with this? We are dealing with pluralistic societies, and we don't give our fellow citizens the means to deal with it, because we are spreading ignorance. The third thing that we have to deal with, that it's almost useless now, is we have to reconcile our children with philosophy. Philosophy. Why? Not only how it works, how do we make money quickly, efficiently. How are you going to be efficient? Why? The question why? Why this life? What is the meaning? I have been, traveling during the last 4 days, and it's as if you deal with a very, very industrialized. You are in the streets in Tokyo. It's going very fast. Everything gets. By the way, it's a kind of an American way of life that is Japanized. You are quite good in Japanizing the American way of life. But still, Starbucks is American. You are good on this. And you go there. And then you go to temples, shrines. You look here, even here, in this, you look at the environment, nature around. It's another world. This world is asking us why. Our daily life is how. We have to reconcile our children with the big question in education. Why? Why as a human being? The meaning of nature, the meaning of life. At least to come to essential questions. If not, the presence of the other is going to send us, you are a problem as to my efficiency. You are not a gift as to the common questions that we have. If you speak about the why, your presence is a gift. If I speak about how I'm going to deal with money, your presence is a threat. So this is where we need to get this. This is the way we have to teach our children. And then there is one thing which is lost in this. You're not going to have the highest mark if you are interested in arts and culture. Teaching arts, teaching beauty, teaching aesthetic, not only teaching the way you are going to be efficient with your job, with the money, with the salary, the sense of beauty, the sense of art. For example, the Japanese, in the way you are dealing with nature, in the way you are dealing with artistic production. This is what we also have to teach, because, for example, I was born and raised in Switzerland, and in French culture, poetry, the sense of this beauty, it's so much, culture is about this. And you, for example, you are very happy, the Japanese people, when you see somebody coming from abroad speaking Japanese, getting it from within. We like it. And culture is not about language, and then it's also about feeling. It's about this artistic dimension. We are not teaching this. It's not in our schools. So the way we are efficient is a lack of concern about the very deep questions that we need. We're not going to work to live together. We work by neglecting philosophical question, the sense of beauty, memories, and then, of course, the way we have to deal with the diversity of religions. So this is where we need to be much more educated. Living together, it's mutual knowledge. And let me tell you something which is important. Very often, when you read the newspapers now, what you get is you have the good Muslims and the bad Muslims. So the good Muslims are moderate. So now you might have a sense, oh, Tariq, moderate, good one. And there are the bad Muslims. It depends sometimes on the that they can have, or the way they dress, or the way they think. Let me tell you something which is important in our education. You start to respect me the very moment you understand that my universe of reference is as complex as yours. It's not about good and bad. There are many ways of being a Muslim. There are many ways of being a Shinto, many ways of being a Buddhist, many ways. And it's not because the people don't think like you, they are bad. We can now have a sense of this complexity. We also have to reconcile ourselves with a sense of complexity. So the people who are good are not only the people who think like me or are like me. So this is also something which is very important in the way we have to deal with education and the way we have to celebrate diversity. In any secular school, if there is no teaching about diversity, if there is no teaching about this sense of pluralism, we are working against our own objectives. You can have diversity managed by promoting ignorance of this diversity. It's not possible. If you don't manage diversity out of your minds, we'll get it out of your emotions. The emotions are going to respond to anyone who is perceived as a danger, while reason could help us say, no, it's not like that. We have to be wise, we have to understand. Now, as I said, mutual respect, it's important, and mutual respect, as I told you, it's this understanding that you are as complex as I am. So this starting point in our daily life. By the way, get me right here. It's a call to everybody here, to anyone in this room. So yes, okay, about your education. Now maybe your education is behind you. What are you doing in your daily life to get a sense of this education, educating yourself about the others and about yourself? Because very often you are scared of the other when you don't have a deep understanding of who you are yourself. So adding to this, that the mutual respect has to do with something which is necessary now. We need to reconcile, and we need to come to something which is very simple: communication. We have to communicate more, to talk to one another. We had two meetings, one in Kyoto and one this morning here in the House, International House of Japan, about interfaith dialogue. And I repeated one thing: it's that in communication we need to learn again to listen, take time to listen to what the people have to say. So, for example, you can be against violence, and I am against violence. But you have to listen to the reasons people are telling you, I'm going to be violent, I'm going to react to what you are doing. It's not to justify their violence, but to understand doesn't mean that you justify. To understand is to try to understand the reasons why the people are behaving like this. So when the people are saying, when my people are killed, you don't care. You only care about your people, and now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to kill you there to show you what it means to be killed. You can say they are crazy. They are not so crazy. They might be wrong, but they are not crazy. They are telling you the way you react to international injustice is unjust. Because you don't care about the human rights the same way you care about them in your country, the same way you have to care about them, for example, in Syria. When the people, I was once visiting Egypt, and I was against the violence in Egypt, and once somebody came and told me, I'm going to tell you why now I don't want to talk to this government. Because what they did is that the military came in our mosque, killed our imam in front of us a Friday, and it means for me that this man who was so moderate, they killed him, so now I'm going to retaliate. He's wrong in the way he's going towards violence, but I need to understand from where he's coming. If we want to find solutions, we need to understand what are the reasons the people are behaving in such a way. George W. Bush, just after September 11th, said, you are with us or against us. And my response at that time was, I'm sorry, I'm against them, and I'm against you. Because the way he was launching this war on terror was just terrorizing the people, and in fact using it for other reasons and other interests, not understanding why the people say, these people are against our values. No. They are against the way you are using your values and acting against your values. In fact, they are against your own contradictions. You speak about human rights, but you don't care about the rights of some people. So we have to get this also as something which is part of the mutual respect when it comes to dialogue. And as I said, it also has to do with getting a sense of mutual respect through dialogue, through mutual knowledge. We have a saying in the Quran saying that God created us as one humanity, and he made us tribes and nations in order for us to know each other. So this diversity of cultures has a requirement: know each other. That's the starting point of mutual respect. And by the way, I don't know if you know Karen Armstrong. Karen Armstrong once was saying, you know, people are talking about tolerance and accepting. You, as Japanese or as Japanese citizens, would you accept somebody who say, you know what, I accept you, I tolerate you? You want to be respected. I'm not expecting from the people to accept me or tolerate me. I want mutual respect. So mutual respect is more than tolerance. Tolerance could be arrogance. And I tolerate you. Who are you to tolerate me there first? We are equal human beings. So mutual respect is part of the discussion here, which is important. And once again, to get a sense of the other, his or her culture, has also to do with their sense of aesthetics, their sense of, you know why it's important to learn all this? Because you have a sense of, you know, when for example, many people say, you know what, there is something that I like in Islam, is the call for prayers. It's beautiful. This beauty is saying something. Yes, it's beautiful. And when you go, and sometimes, you know, for example, you see things in the shrines here, you see, that's beautiful. So I might not get it with my mind, but I'm feeling it with my body. There is something beautiful here. And when you meet beauty, you meet respect. You feel it. So that's also the nonverbal communication, which is so important in our life. How much do you give to the nonverbal in your life? When it comes to, not in your affectionate life or in your loving dimension. So it's always nonverbal, but with the other. So sometimes you have to be as loving towards culture as you might be with your husband, your wife, and your friends. So this is mutual respect. There is also now this dimension of living together. And in living together in our societies, we have to be quite clear that if we want to live together, for example, in the Japanese society, and I kept on repeating this in the West, in the United States of America, in Europe, but also in Muslim-majority countries, there is a frame that we need to get. We cannot live together in a chaotic way. We need to have rules. So there is something here which is important, is that the rules of the country are the rules that we are respecting. So for example, there are laws and there is a legislation that we are respecting. And when it comes to the great majority, look, even now when I'm dealing with people in Europe, or governments around the world, you know, in the States or European countries, they all say, we don't have a problem with the huge majority of our citizens and our residents. They are abiding by the law of the country. So living together is to abide by the law of the country, that we acknowledge that this is for us the framework. That's essential. It doesn't mean that all the law are right or enforced in the right way. For example, I abide by the law of the United States of America. The law, the Constitution, the First Amendment is great. The way it's enforced is not so great. Because when you are a black, poor American citizen, the way you are treated has nothing to do with equal rights and equal opportunities. You are discriminated, and you heard about the movement now in the States called Black Lives Matter. saying we are targeted by the police that is normally here to protect us. They are targeting us. And if you are poor and black in the United States of America, you are 5 times more likely to go on death penalty than if you are white and rich. Why? Because the American system is based on money. The money you give to the lawyer is going to protect you from death penalty. For the poor black people, it's not the same. So the texts are great. The enforcement, not so great. So we have to be cautious that by abiding by the law, we are dealing also with the way we deal with the enforcement. Not only this, when I said this once, I was in South Africa. And I said, you abide by the law of the country, this is the way we are going to live together. And I had somebody who was with me who said, I might disagree on this. Because the law of our country for a while was that there are rights for the white people and rights for the black people. This was the apartheid system. I say, if you tell me that I have to abide by the law, it means that I have to accept this. I say, he is right. We have to acknowledge the fact that there are laws, but when the laws are unjust, we have to challenge them through a peaceful but a committed way of being a citizens of the land. So we are saying not all the laws are right, and some have been decided in time where, for example, the white supremacy in South Africa was the rule. So we have to challenge that. So living together means still we acknowledge this, and from within we are working to make it better as to the substance of the law, better as to the enforcement of the legal system. It's not only this. If we want to live together at one point, and this is why all the countries, when we live, we deal with something which is the language of the land. And this is what I call in the book, what I believe, I call the 3 L's. One is the law of the country that we respect. The second is the language of the country that we need to get. So if we want to live together, of course we need to have a language. And we need, after a while, for example, for me, to know the French language, because I was born in Geneva. If you are living in the UK, you need to get the language. The language is important. But by the way, not only the language, it's also the culture of the country. And as I said, it has to do with history, it has to do with aesthetic, it has to do with the culture. This is very important. If we want to live together, this is an effort. But we need to come to this understanding. And the last L is loyalty. And loyalty, when it comes to live together, is that I'm loyal to my country. I want the best for my country. So if you are a Japanese or if you are resident in Japan, you want the best for this country. You are able to say, and this is coming from, by the way, all the traditions. Go to the Buddhist tradition, to the Hindu tradition, to all the tradition. What you have is that very often the messengers or the leaders were rejected by the people. The spiritual figure was very often rejected. But they got something which was very important. My sense of belonging to you means that even if you reject me for the bad reasons, I'm going to serve you for the good reasons. You are my people. Look at the Christian tradition, the Jewish tradition, the Muslim tradition, but also when it comes to even the Buddhist tradition, people saying, my people, I'm serving you. A sense of loyalty means I'm going to serve this community. I'm going to serve this society. And you know what it means? Living together is, don't ask me where I'm coming from. Ask me where we are heading together. This is loyalty, that I want the best for this society. I'm always taking as an example, soccer or football. That when you have people who are adding a value to a soccer team or a football team, the people are always thinking, oh, he's one of us. So, you know Zinedine Zidane in football. All these people who are coming, they are black people, they are Arabs by origin, but when they are playing good, they are French, or they are British, or they are Japanese. We forget where they are coming from because they are giving us to an added value for where we are going together. We are winning together. We forget the past. We are losing. Where do you come from? This sense, it's something that you have to get in Japan as well, is that how are we going to come together? So the loyalty should be also a loyalty which is a critical loyalty. And the critical loyalty here means It's not, I'm a Swiss citizen. And because I am a Swiss citizen, or the French citizens, or the American citizens, and I'm saying this to Muslims, for example, I say, your loyalty to your country is not to say yes, yes every time. And I know in the Japanese culture, you have a sense of when you don't agree, you know the meaning of silence. You're not so quick to express your I don't like it. So silence is a sign. It's cultural. Yet, in political terms, in social terms, when you see something which is wrong, you are good for your country when you speak out and you change what should be changed. So loyalty is always a critical loyalty. I'm with my country when my country is right, and I'm against my government when my government is doing something wrong. You have seen, for example, in the United States of America now how they celebrated Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, the boxer. It's as if he was a star. Remember, in 1973, he was put and had to stop boxing because he said something that today we all agree with, but at that time he was just against his own people. He was loyal to the American values against the American government. He was loyal to the American values against the American governments and people by saying, I'm not going to kill the people in Vietnam. I'm not going. I prefer to stop boxing, and if you put me in jail, I prefer jail to killing people. Oh, he is great. He was not so great at that time for the people. And the people who ask him to stop boxing are the same that are representing the system that 30, 40 years ago told him, you are betraying the country. So loyalty is a critical loyalty, always. And it might be that sometimes we have to behave against the common sense of our people. And sometimes in a culture like the Japanese culture is not always easy. Because there is a silence in the way we are dealing with issues that it's very difficult to have a counter voice in a culture where silence could be a way of expressing. But still, the 3L are important. Law, abiding by the law, getting the language, and being loyal to the country. And now, and this is my final point, it's living together now with this. This is helping us. These are the instruments through which we are going to come together. It has to do with education. It has to do with mutual respect. It has to do with communication. It has to do now also with living together. But working together is this shift that is necessary. At the end of the day, if we are serious about, for example, justice, if we are serious about, the big picture that I came with, if we are serious about equal rights, equal dignity of human beings, equal rights, justice, if we are serious about peace, and I don't like the people who are sitting down and say, you know why? I love peace. Okay, that's fine. I'm not asking you to love peace. I'm asking you to work for peace. What are you doing for peace? Just to love peace, that's fine. But you can love the sun, love the wind. You can love everything. Loving peace means working, being committed to peace. And being committed to peace is to work. And this is why we have to come together and stop thinking about our own communities and our own values for us. Is how, in pluralistic society, we are promoting common projects and common principles. And as I said in the book that I was referring to before, The Quest for Meaning, I was saying, universal values are shared values by definition. No one has the monopoly on the universal. It's shared values. In the name of the shared values, how we are going to get a better education. I have a problem with some Muslims in Europe and in the West. They think we have a problem with education, so let us have our Islamic schools. I say that's fine, but if you have, every time you have a problem, you do your own things, we're not going to change this society. We are going to self-isolate ourselves from the society. So that's not social mixing. That's not working together. Our social systems, or educational systems, we have a problem. Let us work together. Whatever is your culture, whatever is your religion, we know the problem. We know what we have to do. So let us come to this. We have to be involved in education. We have to be involved in social justice. We have to be involved with migrants. So at the end, if you are a true Japanese, knowing the Japanese values, it is impossible to end up saying, let us protect our borders. If they are killed, they are killed. We don't care. That's not the Japanese way of thinking. It's against the Japanese values in spiritual and in human terms. Where are the people from all the religions, from all the spiritualities coming together and say, we need to think about the way we are dealing with migrants on the job market, when it comes to salary, when it comes to respect. This is why we have to come together. We need to work together, not to sit around the table and say, you are nice. You are black, you are Bangladeshi, you are Korean, we are Chinese, I love you around the table. No, we have to work together in our society. So this is the future, and this is what we have to give our children in our schools, and this is what the social dynamic should be when it comes to building the future and working, as I was saying, on education, on social justice, on cultural diversity, but also on humanity. Can I tell you something? You are in danger with your humanity. If when you watch TV, just take this as an example. If when you watch TV, you see people dying in the seas around you, migrants, if you see people being killed around the world, in the Middle East or elsewhere, and if you don't feel that there is something which is unjust, if your heart does not react to these pictures and these images, you are in danger of you losing your humanity. It means you only care about yourself and your people. If this is normalized through the technology that we see every day, so much people being killed, and then we only care, for example, when an earthquake is coming here and not there, when people are being killed there and we don't care about them here, or we care only about them here and we don't care about them when it comes to other societies, that's the problem. This way of being in communication with the world should at least, we need to feel it with our heart. You know, there is a saying in Islam saying, you know, when you see something which is wrong, changing with your hand. So being active. If you cannot change it with your head, at least denounce it. At least say something against it. Have the courage to say something. And if you cannot speak against it, at least your heart should feel that this is wrong. But if you don't feel that it is wrong, so there is something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you if you are normalized in this. So my conclusion with this, I took a bit too much, but very, very quickly, the conclusion is, all what I'm saying here, it's for every one of us. It's not easy. No one said it's easy, and it takes effort. The first, it takes effort. The second, it takes courage, because sometimes you have to behave and to act against your own people. You have to behave or to act or to speak against your own people, to say, no, that's what, it might be the majority, but it's wrong. What is happening is wrong. So we need to have the courage to speak. And it takes patience. As I said, we're not going to change things overnight. And it's not going to be the timing of the politicians in the next election. We need to work on generations. So it takes patience. It's going to be, 25 years working in Europe, and I can see that it's very long. It's a very long process. And I have seen, presidents and prime ministers, they are not changing anything. It's a long run. But we have to be very clear that at the grassroots level, with the people, things are moving in a better position, in a better way than what the politicians are saying or the media are covering. We are lacking having positive stories about what is done. So it takes patience and perseverance, courage, and as I said, wisdom, it's important. We have to be wise with the people. And as the chairman said this morning, because I said we need to have wisdom and courage, and say the problem is that many people are courageous but not wise enough. And the wise sometimes are not very courageous. So some of you might think that they are full of wisdom. We are waiting for you, courage. And those of you who think that they are courageous, sometimes we say, if you can be a bit more wise or wiser, it could be good for all of us. So, and then also, and this is my last point, we need creativity. We need to be more creative in the way we are dealing with issues, not to repeat. We need memory to know how to deal with history, but we need to be creative in new ways of dealing with the means that we have now. Social, we are all complaining about the media that we have, but how and why are we not more effective in the alternative media now, with all these social networks that we have? We need to be creative with our own children, with our own ways of dealing with new issues. There is a lack of creativity in the way we look at solutions now, and this also could be part of our commitment to living together and working together. Thank you.